Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast. Today, we're going to be interviewing Katlyn Slocum. Now, Katlyn is a construction specialist on the web side, and we're going to be talking about how can a contractor get more and better customers from my website. I know you're going to love it, so stay tuned. Katlyn Slocum, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm good.
The sun is shining here, so I've just been outside the last few days,
You have to take it
soaking it
while you
all
can get
in.
it, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sick of the rain.
so am I. I'm so happy when the weather turns.
Yeah,
But I'm so positive. I always say, well, it's good for the ducks. You know, the rain is good for the ducks.
it's good for something. You know what? Yeah, there was a couple years ago. It felt like we were in a drought, and it was super hot, and our grass was all brown. And so I'm like, our grass is growing super fast, and it's green, and I just cut it today. So yeah, it's always good for somebody or something.
Yeah, somebody's always, yeah. Anyways, I'm glad the weather's better because it makes everybody smile, and I love smiling and being happy. Today, you and I are here to talk about websites, which sometimes don't make people very happy.
No,
No.
unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Well, like some people, there's still people who say, we don't need a website. We do everything word of mouth.
Sure.
And then you and I go, oh, I'm just going to sit up a little straighter and try to be serious with this person right now. Because you can only go so far, not having, you can just go so far.
Right.
And by the way, I know somebody that has a very basic, kind of ugly website, and they do $20 million in aluminum railings.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Right.
That's
but
insane.
but the project managers for these big commercial jobs still go there to check it because
for sure.
They don't expect them to have a great website.
Yeah.
But they expect them to have a website.
Yes. Yeah. If you can run your business on all referrals, which I've had several clients do that, like that's fantastic. A website doesn't just need to be a way to generate leads or more business, but what it can act as is like, even if somebody refers someone to you, to your business, they're going to go, like their default reaction is to go to your website. And if you don't have one, they're like, oh,
doesn't everybody do
I don't know.
that?
Like it doesn't. Yeah.
Not really
Everyone.
Legit. Let's do this though, so that people understand who the heck you are. And here's my question. Katlyn Slocum, who the heck are you? And how do you come to be speaking to all these forward-facing contractors all around the world?
Yeah. So my name's Katlyn. I grew up in rural Minnesota. And I never expected to be a web designer. I was actually a huge music nerd. I was going to school for music therapy.
Are you?
I played violin for 12 years, but I was focused more on the vocal side of things. So I went to the school, University of Minnesota in Duluth, for music therapy. And it's a really long story how I got there to here, but back to like my niche, these contractors and tradesmen. I grew up with, all the guys in my family owned their own businesses, and they were all in the trade. So like my papa opened his auto mechanic shop the year I was born, 1993. He had that and just sold it a couple years ago. My dad and my other grandpa had an HVAC business. I worked for my stepdad for a while, who has to this day, a successful roofing company in southern Minnesota.
Okay.
My husband today is an electrician. So I've just been surrounded by business owners in the trades my whole life. So when I got into the web design space and I was looking for a group of people to work with and collaborate with, I was just like, I get these guys and I'm comfortable with them. And there's a need in the trades for effective marketing and websites and honest people. And, so it was just kind of a natural fit. Yeah.
You have to look for that natural fit. And it's interesting that you are a provider to contractors like I am, but you still decided to niche down. And I wonder how, I know the answer from my side, but I don't want to say it. How often do you sit with a contractor and they are not focused on a specific customer?
Yeah, probably the majority of the time.
I agree.
But, yeah. And when having conversations with them, it's clear, because like in my web design process, I really want to get to like the heart and soul of their business so I can build a site that's really strategic and meeting their goals. So what I hear a lot of the times, like they might have it in their heads who they want to be attracting, but they're not actually taking the steps to be attracting those people. I have a lawn care client who I've been years ago, I got really good at SEO and ranking sites. And so I have a site in my area that's ranked for lawn care. It gets tons of leads. And he buys them from me. So I'll send him all these leads and he's like, oh, I don't really want the mowing stuff. He wants like sod installation or
he
like
wants install.
Exactly.
Landscape
and so
construction or landscape installation.
Exactly. Or more profitable, these bigger jobs. And so
hold on a second. I gotta stop. Anybody listening, the recurring revenue side of lawn mowing is a game changer.
It is.
If my son says he wants to start mowing lawns and have recurring revenue, like the same customers every 2 weeks, it doesn't sound very appealing, but I'll tell you what, you can print money in a recurring revenue business, which is why insurance companies get so big, banks get so big, phone companies get so big, and Starbucks get so big because we prepay for our darn coffee on a Starbucks app in advance. So for those of you listening who think, I want to do the installation side too, look for recurring revenue opportunities in your business. They're hard to get in construction. Let's understand that. It's very difficult to get, but not impossible. And it's one of my favorite questions. I'm going to leave it at that. And I know you go down the same path, right? You're thinking the same thing. Like, why are you turning down these lawn mowing opportunities? It's a thing.
Yeah. Yes, it is a thing. And you know what? I haven't had this conversation with him because like he rents this site from me. We haven't collaborated together on a custom project and had these discussions. But just in these little like things, I'm like, okay, maybe there's other reasons he doesn't want to be doing this. And so it comes up, general contractors or like, let's say home renovators. Maybe they'll get an inquiry for a smaller type project that they don't really want to touch. They'd rather get like the bigger, more full scope, projects. I'm just thinking like I had another person talking to me. Then I had the opposite side. I just did a site for a handyman and he's like, well, this was the rare occasion where he niched down. He's like, I want the small jobs that the other contractors won't touch. Like that's my, area of focus. I want those tiny little, like I'll hang their pictures and they mount their TVs and put some trim. So, but it's not very often that contractors niche. And I think like this is for any industry. I feel like there's this fear that if you niche down, you're going to lose out all these people. And that's just not the case. When I niched into construction, like if you go to my website, it is like full blown contractors, builders, like it is geared towards like that audience. I still have event planners reaching out to me. I've had nursing homes reach out to me. Really? Like it's so odd. It doesn't cut people off from you. And I think a lot of that is in my story. Like people read about me and I think they kind of build trust, like going to my website. And so they reach out anyways, but there's this fear that that people aren't going to reach out to you if you niche down too far, but it actually has the opposite effect. You'll still get the people, even if they're not in your area, but you double down on the ones that you directly are marketing to. Yeah. So like, if you go to a custom home builder website and you can just tell it's like, these guys do $10 million homes, or these guys do like more my budget range homes. Like, when you're marketing to those specific people. Yeah. They're looking for that. It's interesting you say that. And a lot of people are, they fight niching down. And the reason is because, especially in construction and contracting, is we come from the tool side. Well, I can build anything. So they say, look, I'm not afraid of doing foundations. I'm not afraid of doing framing. I'm not afraid of doing siding or soffits or roofing, or, maybe they don't touch electrical or plumbing. And I know there's a bunch of people laughing now going, well, actually, I can do all of that and plumbing and electrical. But that's the point that you and I are trying to raise here is you have to choose something to focus on. Yeah. Otherwise you spread yourself too thin. Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't mean you exclude other things. So it's a longer conversation. We're going to get to things, but people might already be curious. What is your website? KatlynSlocumDesign.com. And my name is spelled. Have to spell it. Yeah. I know. My name is spelled Katlyn, like Katlyn, no E's, no I's, no craziness. Katlyn Slocum, SLOCUM design.com. Yeah. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for giving me a unique complicated name. Yeah. Right? Yeah. This is the one time you want a name that's, like Alice. I know. Right. Yeah. I need to get like a domain name that's like KS Designer, like super simple, so people don't have to spell that out all the way. I know somebody who could help you with that. Yeah. I'm going to be interviewing her in 30 seconds. Awesome.
So listen, I want to ask you about this because people have the question. Websites are this big, you know, let me actually make a statement and I want you to agree, disagree, pull me apart, doesn't matter. A website is a billboard on the side of a highway. And it's important as much as the highway going past it, which are the eyeballs coming past my website. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I out to lunch? Am I somewhat at the lunch table?
In between, a website does display your business, your brand, your services like a billboard, and who is driving by is just as important. Yes. I would just amplify that statement by saying, if your website is only a billboard, like only a picture or like a business card, it's not doing enough for you. It's a waste of an investment.
Yeah.
But yes, well, so I half agree with that statement.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. It's okay that you half agree with it because I'm only half committed to it. No, the reason I bring that up is because I do see people from time to time who go, look, I don't need a website. I have a Facebook page. Or we have a house listing or, some other combination. I don't really need a website. People know who I am. They just call me, which of course goes back to what you were saying earlier. There's a limit. I can't control who calls me or when they don't. And it's, the world is marching forward. And if you're not going with it, but let me go back. What do you say to somebody who comes to you and says, I can do it all off a Facebook page?
Yeah, my comment to that, social media can be great tools and touch points to people doing business with you. I don't remember what the stat is of like how many touch points a customer needs before they actually spend money with you, but it's like, is it 7? Okay, that's what I thought. I was like
a 10, minimum of 7.
Minimum of 7, yeah. And it depends by industry. And obviously, the more money that they're spending, I think it would have a factor. But one thing that I like to bring to people's attention is you don't have control. You are renting space from Facebook, from Instagram, from LinkedIn. Any given time, if something happens over there or their algorithms change or they set certain settings and limit what you can do,
or you get hacked.
Yeah, or you get hacked. And that has happened to a friend of mine who has a business in Southern Oregon. They had to completely recreate their Facebook page where all their reviews were, where all their posts were. No. Yeah. And so it's like, you don't have control of that. Your website, you can view as almost like a truck that you buy. It's an asset. It's an asset that you own and you have full control over for the most part. So, that is just like my word of caution. Facebook and, social media and all these other marketing channels are still great in their touch points, but I mean, it was like a year or two ago, Instagram had this outage for like, I don't remember how long it was, but it's like all the businesses there did not have exposure all of a sudden and did not. So you just don't know and you don't have control. I
know. And I know it sounds like something that'll never happen, but there's a guy I follow on YouTube. He's got a great channel. And he's been around for 13 years. I didn't realize I'd been watching him for that long.
Wow.
It's an outdoorsy kind of channel, but he just got on. I hadn't seen any posts from him for a while and he got hacked. He opened an email that looked like it was official from YouTube that said he had to check some settings and his whole site got taken down.
Yeah.
And now he's building back up from zero, but he had 13 years of great reviews and all that, backlinks and comments. And it's all just gone.
Yeah.
So unless you knew who he was, you're not going to find him tomorrow, right? Yeah.
Yes. Devastating.
Okay. So, and I think people ultimately know websites are important. So let's go beyond that. That's pretty basic. And that conversation happened in like 2007.
Yeah.
Apparently around the time you were born, but,
2007.
When did you say?
93.
93. So there you go.
I know I'm still a baby. It's okay. I turned 30 in like a week.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I've been 31.5 times.
Yeah, there we go.
So let's talk a little bit about stories though, because I know people like stories here. Do you have, and you don't have to share customer names because we don't do that on the show, but a roofer who had this problem and solved it by this, or you choose the trade. But people do like to hear those stories because they can see themselves in that and understand they're not alone and there is a solution. Do you have any cool stories?
Yeah. So one of my first projects ever as a new web designer, there's a guy in my church who has a pole building construction business. And
like pole barns, you mean?
Yeah. Okay. He builds pole barns and he's done it since he was like 15 with his dad. And he lives in rural Oregon. And his wife approached me at church and was like, hey, he needs a website. Like, can you hook us up? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And the client, her husband was very, very skeptical. He's just like, I don't need a website. But then while in that same note, he's talking about how business has been really slow and his advertising, he was advertising in the local paper, and he was getting really nervous because his job's schedule is like running out.
Okay.
And so I partnered with him and built him a really simple website, actually. And then I worked with him for a few months on ongoing SEO. So, and when I say that, I mean, I'm helping his website rank higher on Google in the cities and the towns that he was wanting to rank in. And obviously, like, depending on where you're located and the type of business you have, like, SEO can take a lot longer to get to the top of the search results. But where he was, it took us like 3 months, I think. And he was like the first page of Google in like 10 different of his local towns.
That's valuable. Okay.
It was insane. And he had a friend who was also a pole barn builder, who he's like, I want to beat him. Like, he's at the top here, here, and here. And
that's
so
exactly
it's
how
like,
friends talk. Yeah,
I know. And so I'm like,
buddy.
okay. And yeah, kind of put the pressure on me, but I'm not even kidding. 3 or 4 months. And he was above his friend. And I saw him every week at church. And he's
that's
like,
accountability. Talk about accountability. I know. You're really like, you have to change
I have to
churches.
face this guy every day. Like, hi. But it worked out really well. He'd come up to me at church just glowing. He's like, the phone will not stop ringing. He's like, he had to hire 2 more guys.
That's horrible.
He was like, I know, right?
Yeah.
He had like booked out his calendar for the entire year. He's like, I can't even pick up my phone anymore. I'm turning down jobs. Like, I just don't like, he went from completely dead, not knowing where his next job was coming from, to like, it was too much.
And you know, the business coach in me is if that's happening, and if that's happening to anybody listening here, we're so busy, we're turning down jobs. It's time for you to increase your prices.
Yeah.
Now, somebody's pulling their hair out of their head right now going, but Rubino, you don't understand. I do understand.
Yes.
If you're too busy, raise your prices. That'll slow things down.
It sounds crazy because I went through this in my own business, where I was getting, because I had a background in SEO, I was doing my own SEO in my area for web design. So I was getting all these inquiries. And then it seemed like every sales call I was getting on, I was booking. And it sounds like, oh, boohoo, you, like, you're getting all these jobs. But I was overwhelmed because I'm a mom of 2 toddler boys. I only work 15 to 20 hours a week. There's only so much I can do. And I don't like turning people away. And I talked with my business coach and they're like, like, you're going to hear more no's.
You mean it's not just Rubino who says that?
No, it's not.
If you have too high a conversion. So, and this is the basic formula, and everybody listening, this formula doesn't matter. It's the same for your dentist. It's the same for your construction company. It's the same for your any company. You can't just get more customers. It's illegal to bonk them on the head and swipe their credit card for service. You can't do that. But you have full control of how many leads you get and what your conversion rate is. Right? So what Katlyn and I are talking about right now is conversion rate. If I talk to one person and I make a sale, that's 100% conversion rate. If I talk to 10 people and I make one sale, that's a 10% conversion rate, right? Or like a batting average. People, you understand at bats.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have a high batting average because if you're selling every deal you're in front of, you're probably doing something illegal or you're underpriced. And I'm going to leave the illegal conversation off to the side, but you can imagine which industries have 100% conversion rate. That podcast.
Yes. Yeah. So it's really interesting. Yeah. So I went from having like 9 out of 10 calls I was getting, I was booking, and
it's too much.
It was way too much. So I've upped my prices, and I regularly up my prices because it's all like, you get more experience. Sometimes you even change who you're marketing to. I mean, like, the higher end clients are going to pay this price point. Lower end clients are going to pay this. So it's like, do I want 10 clients at this lower price point or 1 at this? And because my schedule is so limited, it is really, I have to change how I operate my business. But so he was in this position where it's either like he needs to up his prices or he needed to change his business, because it was just him building. Like,
Oh, he was
for
one man
all
show.
those years, one man show. So
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
oh, so this is like, you need to change your business model maybe and like so then, and that was a conversation. Like, I don't think he saw that for his business, which is totally
Oh,
fine. It's not for
sorry.
everybody, but he would have had, like, that's just such a huge change. It's hiring the project managers and a crew
Yeah.
and the insurance and the benefits. And like, it's a whole different structure
It's
going
a
from a one
business.
man show. It's a business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
So,
business. And for those people listening right now who are a one man show or one woman show who are working on word of mouth only, those are two risk categories you've just ticked with a big red pen, because the day you get sick or get hurt, or the day you turn 54, your back hurts and it's raining and stuff, you start to realize I'm not the superhero I used to be at 30. I can't do it all, right?
yeah.
And now this gentleman you're speaking about hires other people. So he's a person of influence. Obviously, your church, so you've got a social driver in your life. So he's helping other families by hiring, their parents to work, and he's having a bigger impact. It's not for everybody,
Right.
but being a one-man show has limitations. And then only operating on word of mouth is a massive limitation. By the way, the very same as, and I'll bet you have a story on this, the very same as saying, well, I'm a contractor and we do just fine, Rubino. And we have one big customer who gives us almost all of our work.
Mm-hmm.
That's another risk factor. Have you
Yeah.
ever converted somebody who's come to you either with the recognition or the fear that, hey, we've only got one customer?
I haven't personally had somebody come with only one customer, but I could see why that's scary, because what happens when that customer goes away? Your business is done.
Because they do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do.
And that's, again, it's just like you're putting all of your eggs in this one basket.
Yeah. I'm dealing with a gentleman right now in, I'm just going to say, the Northeast. And he doesn't have he has many customers, but one customer is 60% of his business.
Yeah, that's
and
huge.
He didn't recognize that until we started probing it. And guess what our last coaching conversation was? He's like, hey, so-and-so isn't paying. He's holding back. He's holding back on all jobs because there's a problem on one job, which is common.
Right.
And, it happens. It's a punch list type thing. But now this guy is holding back on all payments, which is so much risk. It's 60%.
Yeah, he's in a way, like, because I watch Shark Tank a lot and I like business. I'm like, he owns 60% of your business, basically. Like, he owns more of it than you do when you're looking at it kind of that way. Like, if 60% of your business is coming from one person and they fall off, like, yeah, it's just, that is a huge risk for sure.
Anyway, that's why we need websites.
Yeah.
We need websites to have leads coming in.
Yeah. And another story too, like, so his story was a little bit different. Like, he needed more leads and more inquiries. Like, his work had kind of fallen off and he was needing to pick it back up. So that's why his website paired with the SEO to get online visibility of people searching for his services.
Sure.
So he was in that situation. But to your point, I had another client who is a commercial concrete contractor in my area. And they were in the situation that you just said, like, their business has been doing fine for 20 years, all off referrals. Like, they run a solid ship. They do residential, commercial, and industrial. They work with, big, they do lay concrete for gas stations. Like, they do storage unit, multi-level storage units. So they do a lot of stuff.
See, so until you said that, I thought, they do sidewalks and retaining walls.
No, yeah, like they lay foundations for, like, storage facilities,
right.
And they've worked with McDonald's and Albertsons and like bigger, like, they actually do commercial and industrial stuff. Yeah, so not just sidewalks and whatever, but that's good that you said that, because anybody can say, like, oh yeah, I could do a commercial job and like not really know what that entails. So to my point, this client came to me, they've been doing fine in their business. But they're like, we need to have a face, like, we need to have a billboard. We need to have a face to our name. We've been doing this for 20 years and like, no one can find us online. We don't have a website to send people to. So they actually didn't book me to get more jobs. I'm sure it was like, oh yeah, if we do, that's great. But they just wanted to have more of a professional, like,
legitimate
presence online
and
be legitimate. Yeah. So I was just chatting with the owner like a month ago and I was like, hey, how's things going over there? How's the website been working for you? Cause I did some, ongoing work for them. And they told me that they just landed like a 6-figure commercial project only because of the website. Because the owner was bidding on this job and the guy who was in charge of the job was like, have you done this kind of work before? And my client was like, yeah, I've done that. Like, I've done this several times. And they were asking more questions like, oh, do you have the crew? Do you have the equipment? And he's answering like, yes, yes, yes. But it wasn't enough to convince the client. And he's like, well, do you have a website? And so they gave him the website. And after he was able to go onto the website, see their portfolio of the scale of the jobs that they do,
right, with
and
their truck in the picture, with
their truck and their crew,
context, right?
All the equipment. And my client did a great job. They had drone footage. They had project process photos, like, so you could see the size and the scale of the job. And that guy came back and was like, okay, I've seen your work and I believe you now. Like, well, if you're spending that much money on a job, like, people are not just going to take you for your word. Like, oh yeah, I can do this. They can't.
No, the project manager or whoever it is that's reviewing those incoming bids has a lot of risk when they choose a contractor.
Yeah.
And they need to know, and this is specifically speaking to the commercial contractors out there. If you do $30,000 commercial jobs right now, a PM or a GC is going to be happy giving you a $30,000 job. But a 50, they got another guy. They've got a 50K guy, and they've got a 100K guy, and they got $1 million guy. So if you're doing $30,000 jobs, you're not going to get a shot at the $500,000 jobs until you can prove that you can do it. And so take those pictures, build this website that reflects that. And you're just going to have to march your way up the scale. From 30, you get a $40,000 job and you do really well. And then now you're in that 50K range and you start to earn your way in. Sure. But keep in mind, the person making the decision to hire you has their job and their family and their mortgage and their car payment and their vacation on the line by choosing you. Right. So make sure they're comfy doing that.
Yeah. And so that's why it's just so important. And like, why a website is like more than just like what you're saying. Like, if people are spending so much money to book with you, and if you come to the table looking inexperienced, unestablished, like your website's all over the place and broken, you look unprofessional, you're going to be attracting that. You're going to attract what you put out. And so there's a reason why with all the different clients I work with, not all websites look the same. Like my handyman in Texas who wants to, is looking for those smaller jobs. We tailor a website to attract those type of people. It's not about you and what you can do and saying like, oh, I'm so great at this and this and this on my website. It's all about who you're wanting to be attracting, and you cater all of your photos, your written content, everything on your website is catered to who you want to be attracting. It's not about yourself at all.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm glad you said that, because it's not.
Yeah.
Hey, let's start to wrap up here. If people want to find you, I guess we already said that, Katlyn Slocum Design.
Yeah, with the really long, with awkward
a silent
spelling.
Q and a J. No, that's going to help people listen carefully. Katlyn, if people want to find you in this big wide world, how the heck do we do that?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, KatlynSlocumDesign.com. Or if you have Instagram or Facebook, if you just type in Katlyn Slocum Design, you can send me a message on those as well. And I'll get in touch shortly.
Yeah. Just really quickly, what's your process? Let's say you meet, let's use the concrete company again.
Yeah.
If somebody out there is running a concrete company, what do they do, and how does it look to start getting a site made?
Yeah. So the first step is we hop on a free discovery call, and we basically just see what the needs are. We dive into, some of your business goals, what's working on your website, what's not. And then we talk about the scale of the project, like what you're looking for, decide if we're a good fit. And then we'll send over a proposal. And if we decide that we're a good fit and working together, the first step is strategy, which is like the best part. And so we really then dive deep into, okay, who do you want to be attracting? What are your users currently doing on your website? I use inspector tools on your website I can see in real time how people are, like, where their mouse goes and what they're clicking on and where you're losing them.
People don't know that. Yeah. People don't know you can do that. You can see where people are clicking, where they're leaving your site, where they're entering.
It's great data to see like what's working on your site and what's not. If you have this, you want people to see this one thing on your site that's so important and no one's seeing it, like that's a major a point that we're going to have to correct. And so we do really in-depth strategy. The website build itself takes about 4 to 6 weeks. And I work with my clients to get all the content together ahead of time. I do want to like put a little plug in here. And this isn't even for me because I don't offer this service. I have people I partner with for this. But oftentimes the written content on your site is put kind of to the side, and we're like, oh, we'll add this or we'll take care of this later. But that should honestly be done before you reach out to a designer. There's a quote I love that says, design primes and copy sells. So design gets the user ready to buy. It keeps them on your site. It's engaging and yada, yada, yada. But the written content is actually what does the selling. So that should be as important, if not more important than the design itself. So
I do know this because we have writers here. It's hard to write simple, easy to understand stuff.
Yeah.
Really hard to be clear.
And sometimes like I struggle, I outsource my writing for my own website because what we might say about our business, like that's fine and all, but if it doesn't resonate with who we want to be attracting, then we've just wasted our time and our money and our energy. So you have to really find people who can hone in on who your ideal client is. Anyways, so we do the build. I do on-site search engine optimization just to like lay the foundations for getting found on Google. And then I have training videos after all the builds. So you can learn how to update and manage your site over time. I don't have any clients on retainer. Most of them are comfortable just adding project photos, swapping out information. And so that's kind of what the process looks like. Okay.
I'm glad you said that because many people don't know it. So it sounds like you've done it before.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've done it before. Well, Katlyn, thank you so much for being a guest. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was awesome being here.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Well. Thank you, Katlyn, for being a guest. And listen, I hope folks, you got a lot of insight into that. We actually went deeper on that than I have in the past when I've interviewed web people. I like some of the stories she's got. And, I want to say everybody's got a website. You either have one or you don't. For those of you that have a website, think about how it's serving your purposes. It's either getting you leads or it's converting those leads into customers, right? So it has a job. A website has a job, just like a hammer's got a job, even though you can use it for different things. Just like a chisel's got a job, even though you can use it for some different things. Your website is the same. So think about how you're using your website. If you haven't gone back and revisited your website in a while, you should probably go back and do that because customers are going to check you out on there. Just like the higher end customers are going to check you out on LinkedIn if you're not using LinkedIn. And most customers will check you out on Facebook to make sure you're legitimate. They just want to know more about you because they want to trust you because you're dealing with their biggest asset and the thing they love and the thing they're in the most, which is either their home or their business. Speaking to the commercial guys here. So have the right social tools that point back to you and say, hey, this is a legitimate person who is an expert in their field, who I can trust and I can give them money. And I know that they'll give me the work that I need. That's all. Anyways, Katlyn, thank you very much for providing us that insight. And folks, there's going to be a second part to Katlyn. So watch for the episode 2. I did a quick 6 with her as a separate podcast. And you're going to be able to see that very soon. And in the quick 6, I ask her 6 questions: who, how, where, when, what, and why on the very same topic. And she just gets to it much quicker, or I get to it much quicker in that interview. Thanks very much, folks.